Venerable Chancellor, Vice Chancellor, Deans, members of the Council and Senate, members of the academic and administrative staff, graduates and parents, distinguished invitees, ladies and gentlemen. I consider it an honor and privilege to have been invited to deliver the convocation address at the second session of the University of Senaratne in 2012. The convocation is a very special event in the life of any university student. It is also an event that is celebrated the world over with joy by their loved ones and families. May I take this opportunity to felicitate the graduates who have received their degrees today. I wish to speak to you, particularly those who would be leaving the portals of this prestigious university on the theme, "Let us step out of ivory towers and address real world issues." Universities as brain trust in the country. In Sri Lanka, there are 15 universities with an academic strength of around 4,500, including about 500 professors and associate professors and around 2,000 senior lecturers with PhD. An appreciable number of these senior academics are promising scientists with international experience and make a significant contribution to the advancement and dissemination of knowledge in their respective fields. According to a study conducted by the National Science Foundation in 2004, the academics in the universities have accounted for more than 60% of the R&D personnel in the country. In addition, there are over 60,000 undergraduates and over 4,000 postgraduate students in our universities who are pursuing studies in a multitude of faculties such as engineering, medicine, dentistry, veterinary science, natural science, agriculture, humanities, social science, management, and law. Only about 3% of the students receiving school education in our country have the privilege of entering the university. Thus, these students undoubtedly constitute the distilled spirit of the youth of our country. Presently, a sum exceeding rupees 20 billion is spent annually on higher education in our country. To produce a graduate, the government spends typically around rupees 500,000 or more, depending on the degree program, university, etc. In addition, to provide school education from year 1 to 13, though we call it free education, a substantial amount of public funds is spent. As Nobel laureate Milton Friedman said, there is no such thing as a free lunch and somebody is paying for it. In regard to education, it is supported by the sweat, toil and labor of the common man. Therefore, it is incumbent upon the university community, including its students, to cultivate a deep sense of civic consciousness and reciprocate by providing a tangible service to the community and society. With at least one university being situated in each province, universities are in a unique position to become true and effective partners and mobilizing and channeling their rich and intellectual infrastructure for regional development, from aloofness to engagement with community. In societies where universities are public institutions serving the public with interest throughout its activities is legitimate and necessary. Governments in many parts of the world are now pushing the public funded universities for value for money. Industry and the world of work look for skilled graduates while society and community desire thoughtful and knowledgeable leadership and reflective professional support from graduates. Various stakeholders demand skills, knowledge, and the ability to apply what is learned to the good of the society and themselves. To meet such demands, universities should be fully and explicitly engaged not only in teaching and research partnerships, but also in outreach activities to meet society's intellectual, social, economic, environmental, spiritual, and cultural needs. In Sri Lanka, a substantial portion of the population is still living in rural areas without basic amenities and services. There exists a wealth of dormant forces, faculties and talents in rural areas which need to be harnessed and channeled for rural development. As Abdul Kalam said, young minds that have been ignited are the most powerful resource. This resource is mightier than any other resource on earth, in the sky or under the sea. The 20 million minds of our nation are indeed great power waiting to be tapped. There are many youth in rural areas bubbling with creativity and enthusiasm. Their trapped energies and suppressed initiatives need to be liberated and harnessed. Only a burning candle can light another candle. What a great responsibility and a moral obligation the intellectuals and professionals of this country have in this crucial hour to ignite the dormant inner energy of the youth in rural areas and guide this tremendous energy in a constructive manner for nation building. Any attempt to make Sri Lanka a developed country should address these in rural sector, empowering its people. Rural development is an essential need for transforming Sri Lanka into a knowledge economy. Therefore, it is imperative for universities and higher education institutions to be actively involved with society of which they are part. It is time that universities embrace engagement with wider society, not as an adjunct to, but as a sine qua non of their central purposes. Hence, engagement should be considered as a core value for the university, which can no longer keep aloof from society. Universities need to get to the bottom of issues faced by society and community concerning livelihood, disease, poverty, illiteracy, agriculture, industry, productivity, education, environment, etc., and find acceptable solutions to them. In order to achieve this, the engagement must embrace great deal more than just links to the outside world. It should be truly organic relationship like that between mother and child or husband and wife. Here our scientists should become civic scientists and contribute towards societal transformation. In this new capacity, scientists should step beyond their campuses, laboratories and institutes and move into the center of their communities to engage in active dialogue and action with their fellow citizens. They should ask themselves the question how their knowledge can make an impact on the common man's life. Our academics should become fearlessly people-friendly, have a positive attitude, and provide a responsive and proactive service to the people. In other words, they should become practical academics. I call that pracademics. The Sagar Vishwavidyalaya, established by His Excellency the President, when he was the Minister of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources is based on the philosophy that it should cater to the trained manpower needs of the fisheries and allied sectors and help those engaged in these sectors to improve their living standard and social status. Thus, serving the fisheries community, industry and other related stakeholders are clearly embedded in the mission and prominently reflected in the academic and vocational courses. Why engagement with community? The opportunity to serve the community and society is a privilege and an honor. George Bernard Shaw said, I quote, "My life belongs to the community, and as long as I live, it is my privilege to do for it whatever I can. I want to be thoroughly used up when I die, for the harder I work, the more I live. Life is no brief candle to me. It is a sort of splendid thought which I have for only a moment, and I want to burn it as brightly as possible before handing on to future generation," unquote. Greatness of a university is measured by the contribution of members of its community to society, country and the world at large. Former president of Cornell University, USA, Frank Rhodes said, I quote, "Without community, knowledge becomes idiosyncratic. The lone learner studying in isolation is vulnerable to narrowness, dogmatism, and untested assumptions, and learning misses out on being expansive and informed, contested by opposing interpretations, driven by differing experience, and refined by alternative viewpoints. Without community, personal discovery is limited, not because the individual inquiry is less creative or original than the group, but because his or her conclusions remain unchallenged and untested. Private knowledge is knowledge lost," unquote. Plato reminded us that even those who scale pinnacles of learning must not make the mistake of continuing to live in a rarefied atmosphere. They must descend again among the average citizenry and partake of their labors. Then only would they be justifying the years of special training and efforts that have gone into their education. Mohammed Yunus, with a doctorate from a renowned university, USA, has been teaching elegant theories in economics in a university in Bangladesh. Then he began to question the purpose of teaching such high-level economic theories which were of little relevance to the community, especially when people in the immediate neighborhood of university were severely malnourished, reduced to walking skeletons and waiting to die. Then Yunus went into the community and was surprised to learn that small amount of financial support could make a world of difference in the life of the poor. This led to the introduction of a scheme to provide microcredit without collateral to the entrepreneurial poor. This brought about formidable change in the income and living standard of the rural folk. It finally gave birth to Grameen Bank, which earned Yunus the Nobel Peace Prize in 2006. Venerable Chancellor, in many parts of the world, universities have now become powerful catalysts and agents of growth and wealth creators. They mobilize and channel their intellectual and infrastructure resources for industrial growth and regional and national development. Thus, great cities naturally have great universities that contribute to the city's intellectual, social, and cultural vibrancy, as well as influence their development. In a knowledge-based global economy, there is even greater synergy between cities development and universities. Stanford University in California, Punjab University in Punjab, Fudan University in China, Chalmers University in Sweden, and NUS in Singapore, some telling examples in this regard. The rural folk are ready to contribute their might in the journey of transformation of our country into a developed nation. We have in the community many talented and versatile people who have not had formal education, but they have worked in the laboratories of life. They are not funded by the government like we are, but they use their own energy, their own creativity, their own enterprise, and their own money to innovate. They are not formally trained in scientific analysis, but their powers of observation, analysis, and synthesis are no less than those of formally trained scientists. They do not import concepts